am Yvonne W. Purdy, your mistress of ceremony for the let me start again. I'm nervous because I got my brothers and sisters in the house.
Got your back.
You got my back?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Yvonne W. Purdy, your mistress of ceremony for the morning. I am also called Miss Purdy by those of you at John Jay who know me. Today is the 30th anniversary of the Malcolm King Breakfast. Let's give it a round of applause. It has been 30 years since the founders of the breakfast came up with this marvelous idea. You're going to meet them later. But we have a new milestone today. No, it's not my birthday. This is the first time ever that we have sold out and had to turn people away. First time ever. And I know why. Do y'all know why? Yes, because of me. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Jessica Gordon Nembhard, Chair of the Malcolm King Breakfast Committee and Chair of the Africana Studies Department. Dr. Nembhard.
Good morning. I have to give a shout out to the McNair students in the back. I'm also director of the McNair program. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2020 Malcolm King Leadership Breakfast Award, Leadership Award Breakfast. See, now I'm doing it. As you heard, it's our 30th anniversary. I'd also like to start by acknowledging the original occupants of the land and to remember our ancestors, which we will do more formally in a minute. We're here to celebrate the John Jay community, Black History Month, and social justice activism. 30 years ago, the Department of Africana Studies, actually called African American Studies in those days, and the Black faculty and staff here at John Jay established this celebration to provide leadership awards to activist students and to honor community activists who embody the social justice spirits of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr. did not just have a dream about integration and equality. He didn't just advocate for a beloved community. Before he was assassinated, he called for a revolution of values, and he made connections between colonialism, imperialist wars, and racism and poverty. He called for a poor people's campaign. Malcolm X did not just advocate for self-defense by any means necessary, but also for Black economic development and understanding racism as a crime against humanity. Before he was assassinated, he organized an international human rights movement against racial injustice. We continue to need such activism. Later in the program, you'll meet 5 impressive students who are keeping this legacy alive. And of course, our honorees are doing the same. I also represent the Department, Africana Studies. It's dedicated to providing a rigorous and relevant Black Studies curriculum to all John Jay students. We teach critical thinking, intersectionality, written and oral communication skills, along with content about peoples of African descent, their experiences, struggles, and achievements, as well as their resistance and agency. We're a small but mighty department with 3 minors, Africana Studies Honors, and Community Justice. And we co-designed the new Human Services and Community Justice major and support that major. As chair of the planning committee, I want to thank the planning committee who made sure that this program happens every year. It's the longest continuously running program at John Jay. Thanks to our honorees, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, Dr. Ken Holmes, our own Yvonne Purdy. Thanks to all the special guests. Thanks to all the volunteers, to the food prep, to the support staff, and thanks to our student awardees who you'll meet later, as I said, and thanks to all those who have donated for this award, and thank you, President Mason.
Thank you, Dr. Jessica Gordon Nimhard. We will now have libation by Dr. Chevaletta Alfred from the Sikh Department.
I am going to do my very best to make sure that all of you can hear me without a microphone. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. We are going to get a hearing aid for you. The libation is an extremely important part of any activity that is conducted by people of African descent. However, what you don't realize is that libation is libation is done by all peoples. We will begin by making sure that you know the word that must be said by all of you to give thanks for the fact that we are able to be here to do this. And that word is Ashe. I want you to say it with me. Ashe. Ashe. Again, Ashe.
Ashe.
One more time. Ashe.
Ashe.
Always pull from your diaphragm. The first thing that we will do is we will call upon our ancestors. We will ask them to come here and join us and make certain that nothing goes wrong. Now, I want you all to think back one generation. That's your mom and dad. Now go the next generation back. Those are the grands. Now go the next generation back. That's the great-grands. Now go back again. The great-great-great-grands. And I want you to go back as far as you can. And I want you to think of the name of the person that you can hold and tell it to the person next to you. Do that now. Just tell the person next to you. Speak to the person next to you. Just say the name. One name. Okay, good enough. Now you have just brought that person into this activity, and that person is here with you. And now that person will help me to pour the water for our ancestors. I hold the water because water is the one thing that connects us all. And this water will be poured 3 times. And each time I pour it, you will say the word Ashe. Ready? And now we are in our present. Our ancestors are here with us, and we are here in our present. Our ancestors are looking at all of the things that we are concerned about. And our ancestors are asking us, why are we concerned? This world keeps moving forward. Everything is going to go according to our greatest desire. But we have to have confidence. So your ancestor is whispering in your ear, relax, be comfortable. You're in a good place, and right now you're with good people. So in our present, I am going to pour water for our school, John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And I am going to pour for all the ancestors who have brought you here to this place at this time to be happy and joyful. 3 times I will pour for the present. And now we will go to the future. The only thing that we do not know is our future. We have ideas, we have plans, we kind of think about what we want, but we have to let our ancestors know, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And those of us who are in this environment, one of the most important things, plural, is the young people with whom we have had the great pleasure to work with. Either they are the young people that we teach, or they're young people who are our immediate family members, or just the young people that we pass on the street. It is what we present to them from our lives that will move them in the right direction. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes you just have to give a look. And that look makes all the difference in the world. Our future is governed by what we produce. What kind of young people are we producing? Are we producing fearful ones, or are we producing young people who are confident in their futures? I am going to pour for our future. The ancestors have told me I should stop talking, so I will now pour, as they are requesting, for our future. Ashe. You need to act like you really want this to happen.
Ashe.
This is the last one. Put your whole heart into it.
Ashe.
Now, we'll thank them and tell them to have a good time as we proceed to have a good time. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Alford. Let's give her a round of applause. She does a wonderful job every year with the libation for us. And now let us all rise as the East Coast Inspirational Singers bring us the Negro National Anthem.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the tears have been watered. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the Sultan. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of a bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of the silent tears, thou who hast brought us far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy helm, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
You may be seated. I am indeed honored to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is President Carol Mason, who loves to be called Carol. So if you don't know that, start saying it now. Carol. I met President Mason a year or two ago. How long has it been? 2.5. Oh my God, 2.5. Well, I met her 2.5 years ago. I introduced myself to her as Miss Purdy, and she never knew my name until last year sometime. She is a great president. She is the first woman president of John Jay College. She is the first African American president of John Jay College. And she won't be the last because I'm going to be the next. I present to you President Carol Mason.
Now that's the Miss Purdy I know. Not the one who was a little nervous because her siblings are over there. So just so you're clear, your sister's the bomb. She runs this place. She's the only person, I really did not know her first name. It's Ms. Purdy. She's going to be recognized today. That's why you guys came from so far. And I know I won't get to say this because somebody else is going to be introducing you. But please, let's just thank Ms. Purdy. As she said, I'm the first, but I certainly do not intend to be the last because then I will have failed if I'm the last, and I don't intend to fail at anything. So this is our 30th Malcolm King breakfast, and I want to say that the only reason that I get here to stand here to be the first is because of all of you who came back and come back every single year. So will all the folks who've been part of John Jay from the beginning please stand up? And if Witherspoon, if you don't stand up, and Bernice, if you don't stand, and Jeanette, I know your names now. Y'all better stand up. And there are some people up here on the dais who aren't standing up that need to stand up. But I need to say thank you to you all, because I would not have the privilege of this job had it not been for the work that you did to pave this way and make this possible. So thank you very much for being the fierce warriors that you were to create this legacy. And it's entrusted in us and the young people that we're going to honor today, and many of whom are in the room that aren't being honored. A lot of our volunteers, your legacy is secure because of the young people that we are producing. And so, Chevy, when you asked about what kind of young people are we producing, we're producing fierce, confident young people. So all the students in the room, stand up, because you're the reasons we're here. All the students, I know you're here. Come on, stand up. So, thank you. So, I want Reverend Sharpton to know that we are grateful for him being here with us to be honored, and I want you to see what you have helped create, because it's your courage as well that has created this legacy that we're all passing on to these young folks, and why we can have some confidence in what's happening, going to come in the future because of them. So thank you. He may not remember me, but we served on panels together when I was at the Department of Justice, and I remember the first time we sat next to each other, and I was trying to figure out how am I going to remember my questions, and there's this big old teleprompter in front of us, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to forget. It's right there. You remember that? So we are here to remember our ancestors, as we said, who blazed the trail for us, especially the legacies of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. So I thank our own Professor Shabazz for letting us honor her father. So please. I say to her often that we are grateful for her sacrifice, because she shared her father with the world and with us, and didn't have the father that many of us had the benefit of having, because her family allowed us to have him. So thank you again. So, we talk about raising fierce advocates for justice, but one of the things that became clear is that I'm not sure that our students were rooted in the history of the civil rights movement and the history of our country's shameful legacy. And so thanks to some generous donors, we had the ability to take 33. We would have liked to take more, but we're going to continue this. We took 33 students to Alabama in January during the January winter term. And they went to the birthplace of the civil rights movement. They crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They went to the National Voting Rights Museum. They had wonderful talks at the Southern Poverty Law Center. And we went to both of Brian Stevenson's gifts. I consider them gifts to our country. They went to the Legacy Museum. And I will say that there wasn't a dry eye as we moved through that Legacy Museum. I'm going to embarrass him, right, Charles? He kept collecting tissues from the rest of us. And then we connected with the thousands of racial terror lynchings that happened in America today. And then our young folks were able to see the connection. And I think it's powerful that we hope that we're finally going to get some legislation that says that lynching is a crime. Can you believe that? It's 2020 and it's still not a crime yet. But there's some hope, because it got passed by the House yesterday, and let's hope it becomes the law of the land. I was born 9 days before the Civil Rights Act of 1957. And so I have seen the progress this country has made, and unfortunately, at 62, I'm also seeing us backstepping. But the reason I'm not discouraged, I am worried, but I'm not discouraged because of all those young folks that you saw stand up today. And I saw how the impact that trip had on them. And I know that they're going to share that experience. I know there are a couple of people in the room who went on that trip. I saw, if you went on the trip, would you stand up? I know she was here a minute ago. Yeah, there they go. All right, let's. I want you to know how well John Jay was represented. Everybody that we met and talked to came away not just moved, but inspired by our students. And again, thank you all for trusting us. And now with them, because it was hard making sure we didn't lose 33 students, right, Ray? We had a little system, or Ray had a system. We counted off at 1 through 33, and if we heard a gap in the number, we got worried. We did have a gap one time, Nicholas, right? Is Nicholas in here? And then, but he came running down the hall. But we brought all 33 of them back. And today, we're going to be honoring 5 students here today. Ashaki, Alexandra, Bianca, Hadja, and Idalina. So would you guys please stand, the honorees? You're going to get recognized later, but I want you to stand so we can see you. Yeah, I see you brought your cheering squad. Good. These 5 young women perfectly illustrate how our students embrace the importance of community building and cultural understanding. They've set their sights on becoming counselors, educators, lawyers, authors, and artists, all with the goal of uplifting communities of color. And our faculty are the reason why these young women are being honored. So will all the faculty and staff please stand up? And if you all don't stand up, come on. So, the students in the room, there are some people that didn't stand, but I want you to see the circle that you have around you, the circle of support, all the students. These are the people who support you and find joy in your success. So thank you all, faculty and staff, for everything that you do. Our students are a reflection of your hard work and your dedication and your commitment because you offer them a meaningful space to be able to learn and to grow. And our Malcolm King Award winners come from every corner of our community. They highlight the effectiveness and importance of programs like the McNair Scholars. She makes sure I never forget McNair. But they're fabulous. I love going to, this is a shameless invite to make sure I get to hear their papers again this year. They're wonderful. The Pinkerton Scholars, the Urban Male Initiative, and our Presidential Scholars. Your success is our success, and we honored 1,634 scholarship and fellow recipients last night at a dinner. So we're doing some great things here at John Jay. But as I like to say, we've got 15,000, so we need to find 13,000 more scholarships and fellowships. Hear that, everybody? And what you're doing here helps greatly. So as you've already heard, this is the longest running program here at John Jay. 30 years. The school's only 54 years old. 54 is 55. Anyway, that shows you the significance and importance of this dinner and the 40 Malcolm King Award winners we've had over time. And Ms. Purdy took over being the MC again because Jessica and I couldn't keep a program on schedule, and she just gave me the side eye. So I know that I need to get going. So there's some people that I want to make sure that I recognize, and you know that again, that we are standing on those shoulders. We are going to hear more from the Reverend Al Sharpton shortly, and it's such a treat again to have you, and we're honored to have you. So let's thank him again. Kenneth Holmes, who is an honoree also, but he is a John Jay legacy as well, and you're going to hear more about him shortly. He was the former Assistant Vice President and Dean of Students at John Jay, and he got even President Eanes to come back just to see you. Notice I said, she's President Eanes now. Ms. Purdy, as we affectionately talk, she's the Director of Undergraduate Student Services. Dr. Shabazz, she's an author, professor, and are you going to be signing books again over here later? And the daughter of Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, so let's welcome her again. Soror, Dr. Bernicia Johnson-Eanes, interim president of York College and former vice president for student affairs at John Jay. Stand up, Bernicia. So, any Deltas in the house, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not wearing red for y'all. I'm wearing red because I like red. No. But what I want to make sure is clear, there are only 3 black women presidents in the CUNY system and 1 senior vice chancellor in the CUNY system who are black, and we're all AKAs. Sorry. Gotta say. Dr. Witherspoon, where are you? Stand up. He's the former vice president of student affairs and the professor in the Department of Counseling at John Jay. And only those of you who are fans of the old show, Girlfriends, will understand what I'm about to say. And our new authoress, Dr. Janet Domingo. Yes, somebody's waving her book. She is newly published, yes. She's the former Dean of Graduate Studies and Chair of the Africana Studies Department. I just want to say thank you all, everyone who's here, because you are part of this wonderful legacy that we're celebrating today. And I hope that I get to come back on the 60th. Ooh, will I be alive? Yeah. I just realized how far that is. Yeah, she laughed. Maybe I better settle for 50. But anyway, thank you all for joining us today for this celebration.
The one thing that President Mason has in common with Dr. Witherspoon is that I always tell them, "You going too long." It gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce my buddy to the group. We were on the phone texting each other in the wee hours of the night last night, trying to get our speeches together, because we found out we both were being honored at the same time, and I hate to tell them that it's all about me. Yeah, okay. Kenneth M. Holmes is the Vice President of Student Affairs at Howard University, Washington, D.C. Before Howard stole him from us, Ken Holmes was Assistant Vice President and Dean of Students. On the day of his interview for Dean of Students, Dr. Eames said, "Purdy, take this gentleman around and make sure that he gets to all his interview sessions." So I said, "Sure." And as we went around the different buildings, I realized he's a brilliant man for two reasons. One, he's from the South just like me. And two, it didn't take him long to realize that I knew everybody, and yes, I am the bomb. So we instantly became good friends. The college realized his brilliance too, because soon they promoted him to AVP. So when he left us, he had two titles, AVP and Dean of Students. Howard came a-knocking. We couldn't afford it, so we had to let him go. Ken Holmes has over 25 years of experience in higher education and has devoted his career to serving colleges and universities with a strong commitment to diversity and student success. Everyone, the next voice you hear is that of my buddy, Kenneth M. Holmes. Ken.
I'm always afraid to follow Miss Purdy. I tell you, that's a hard act to follow. But thank you, Miss Purdy. To President Mason, to the Malcolm King Breakfast Chair, Dr. Jessica Gordon Nembhard, to our founders, Dr. Roger Witherspoon, Dr. Jeanette Domingo, to Miss Patricia Signatius, to the Reverend Al Sharpton, and other distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. I want to start by saying how grateful I am to the Malcolm King Breakfast to choose me as one of this year's honorees with my good friend, Yvonne Purdy. I am thankful for the breakfast because it reminds me of our ongoing responsibility to keep the legacy of these remarkable men, Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, alive. Congratulations for 30 years of affirmation, remembrance, and acknowledgement of the deserving students who embody the legacy of Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For 30 years, this event has been a steady drumbeat, reminding us of what we've accomplished and helping us to keep pace in the ongoing march for social justice. I knew this was going to happen. Go ahead. In understanding the theme, where do we go from here? It is essential to know where we've been and to have some insight on where we're going. Much has changed since the days of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. when they took up the mantle to fight for civil rights, but it's so much that's still the same. Equal voting rights, equal access to education, equal treatment under the law, fair and affordable housing, equal job opportunities, the significant wealth disparities. The list of needs are as long now and as they were then, and they are still growing. And for the sake of our children, we must add things like climate change, the tech divide, massive incarceration to the inequities that affect Black Americans and other people of color disproportionately. I want to take the last remaining time I have to speak to the student awardees and to the other students here this morning. At heart, I will always be a dean of students. I want to thank you, students, for accepting the roles of leadership on this campus and beyond. Leading is not easy as you balance work, as you balance school, each other sometimes, and all the other things that life throws at you. But all of you, as John Jay students, are leaders. Some of you are campus influencers, athletes, writers, and social media bloggers. Others of you just lead by example, being civic-minded and giving back in small and large ways. But no matter how you lead, you embody the college's values of being fierce advocates for justice, pursuing your dreams and realizing your potential to contribute. Where do we go from here? As you grow and develop your leadership skills, it's important for you to know that you're not alone. We, all of us in this room, are here to support you. And that is why programs like the Malcolm King Breakfast exist, and it's what they're all about. Being at John Jay and holding the positions you do, you have the privilege of turning your learning through leadership into unforgettable experiences by developing strong and informed voices, both as individuals and as leaders. Our country right now is at a crossroad. We are a nation that is at odds with itself, its allies, and with all the other nations around the world. If you look around you, those who are gathered here are looking at you as young leaders to be meaningful participants, not only on campus, but also in the city of New York, the nation, and the world. Leadership is more important now than it's ever been for a long time. And for you, John Jay is your training ground. And understanding the power of voice, understanding the power of voice is paramount. At its basic level, you may see your voice as an expression of opinions or attitudes, but it's so much more. Marcus Garvey once said, education is the medium by which people are prepared for the creation of their own particular civilization and the advancement and the glory of their own race. So the contributions you make at John Jay continue to underscore the preeminence and the significance of this institution. The most exciting part of fulfilling your potential is to start now by making your contributions to the community, be it large or small, as the time is now to start asking the question and finding the answers to prepare for the creation of the world in which you want to live. So as you accept your Malcolm King Leadership Awards today, in respect to your leadership roles, I want you to think about what will your contributions be. If you want something, Malcolm X told us, you better make some noise. Otherwise, as Dr. King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. So thank you for this award. It's so good to be home. So good to be home.
They're not going to see her over the podium.
It's okay.
We need to do another ones later.
Okay, yes, we'll do others. Ken?
And don't forget, Dr. Holmes was a chair of this committee, so we should give him a thank you for that, too.
Make some noise. The next person who is coming up to speak, I don't need to give an introduction to because the president did it. Malcolm X's daughter, Ilyasha Shabazz, will bring greetings from the family, and she will introduce Reverend Al Sharpton.
I don't think I've ever shake in, what is it, shake? I've never shaked your hand before. But young people, we are here because we love you and because we believe in you, and we want to make sure that you are prepared when your time comes to go out into the world. When my father was just in his 20s, people were demonstrating, marching, and protesting nonviolently. And we know the challenges that they caused. And so my father came along and said, we demand our rights as your brother. We demand our human rights ordained by God. So he was very clear on that. And he gave us a lot of power. And so to President Carol Mason, to Dr. Jessica Gordon Nembhard, my boss, my second boss, of course, to the president. To this distinguished dais, Yvonne Purdy, you know I love you so much. And to Dr. Roger Witherspoon, God bless you, you know you're the rock star in this place. Faculty, staff, and especially to the John Jay students and today's award recipients. My earliest memory of this award breakfast was when my mother asked me to accompany her here 30 years ago, which is during the time that I met Dr. Witherspoon. And it was the beginning of my deep admiration for John Jay College of Criminal Justice, because it was this campus faculty, the camaraderie, that recognized the camaraderie between Malcolm X and Dr. King, that we don't have to choose one over the other, right? But that we acknowledge the significant contributions that each made for us. And so the Shabazz family and the King family, in spite of what has been written, we've always been friends. And so it was this group of adults who recognized and made it popular to do so, inspiring our students to dream and to lead. And then it is an honor to both serve as an adjunct professor and contribute to this wonderful institution's mission to continue to produce young, bold leaders for our society. And so today we acknowledge that African American history is American history, and it should not only be celebrated during 28 days, but that it should be included in our educational curriculum throughout the year. And so today I have the opportunity to introduce my dear friend, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. And we all know when we can't find our voices, when all of the terror and trauma continues to happen to our young people and to elders, we call on Dr. Sharpton, and he's there. And so even today, we needed a dynamic keynote speaker, and we called on Dr. Sharpton, and here he is. He is the founder and president of the National Action Network, which was formed in 1991 with over 100 chapters nationwide, including a Washington, D.C. bureau and regional offices across the United States. As one of the nation's most renowned civil rights leaders, Reverend Sharpton has been praised by President Barack Obama as the voice of the voiceless and a champion of the downtrodden. Reverend Al Sharpton also hosts a daily radio show, Keeping It Real with Rev, a national cable news television show titled Politics Nation on MSNBC, and he is an established author. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the podium Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Who can add supermodel to that bill?
Thank you very much, and I'm very honored to be here first by invitation of the committee, and then also the follow-up call by Sister Ilyasah, Dr. Ilyasah Shabazz. Her family and my family have been close for many years. In fact, her mother is my daughter's godmother. So when we got the letter at the office asking me to come, Ilyasah called my oldest daughter, Dominique, and said that your father is going to speak, and this is the date. And Dominique went into scheduling, and they said, well, you know, he's got to be in Atlanta the night before, and I'm going to Charleston, and Selma Sunday. And Dominique says, as I said, he will be at John Jay with Ilyasah on Friday morning. Now, don't think that it is that I'm invited everywhere to speak because I'm that good. It's because Yvonne Purdy is unavailable, so they get me. I listen while folk talk, so I got it. I was intrigued when Ilyasah sent me the background of this event and the 30 years that it has taken place, because I grew up at a time when there were those of us that would get in those debates of whether we were with Malcolm or whether we were with Martin. I joined the movement when I was very young. I was a boy preacher in the Pentecostal church, which led me at 12 years old to join Operation Breadbasket in New York, which was the economic arm of Dr. King's organization. The awkward part of that for young folks that think I'm talking prehistoric history is that growing up in the King movement in New York was not a popular thing, because the perception was that this was a town out of the North that did not believe in King's tactics. And the argument was you can't be a Martin person in a Malcolm town. The fact of the matter is that as time went on, I became youth director of King's New York branch at 13 when the year he was killed. As time went on, what became interesting to me and something that you ought to have as a lesson in life is where the King Malcolm images have been distorted by writers. The ones that understood it better than anyone was their widows. Because Dr. Betty, who I got to know well, and Coretta Scott King, who I got to know well, formed a friendship and a bond long before the followers of their husbands understood that it is one movement, even though we may have different tactics. The fact is that I remember when I went to the hospital when Dr. Shabazz was burned right before death, and I would go and sit in the lobby and I would visit Ilyasah and her sisters. And one day they said, "You got to wait, come up, Reverend Al," because Coretta was coming. And Coretta was there at the end. Dr. Betty was always there for Coretta. There was something about the shared pain of these women that both watched their husbands' death by assassination at the same age of 39, that they could reach beyond the philosophical, ego-based battles to deal with the bigger picture. And I raise that because I would encourage you to reach past that. The battle is not whether we want human rights or civil rights, because we want both. If someone landed from abroad at JFK Airport this morning and got off the plane, they should have human rights. They should not be killed. They should not be molested. They should not be in any way treated unfairly. That is their human right. But they don't have the civil right to vote. They don't have the civil right to participate in things that only citizens can. So blacks and Latinos and LGBTQ and Asians should not have to choose between both. If we were born here or citizens here, we deserve our human rights and our civil rights. That's like arguing whether you should love your mom or your daddy. You should love both of them. Or whether we want integration or separation. Well, Dr. King fought for desegregation. Big difference. Because the myth is that he was fighting because he felt that there was something divine about eating in white folks' diners or sitting on a toilet next to somebody white. The position was that if we pay the same taxes that secures with policing your diner, that gives the street lights outside your diner, then we ought to have the same right as anybody else that pay the same taxes to eat in your diner. If we pay the same bus fare, we should be able to sit where everybody else pays the same bus fare. It's not about who we're next to. It's if you're going to have integrated money, then we're going to have integrated service for the money. So as we matured in this thing, we found out that those that denied us the right to vote, those that denied us equal educational opportunities, those that denied us unequal economic opportunities, they did not ask us whether we was with Malcolm or Martin, whether we was Baptist or Muslim. They saw us as one. Problem is we had to start seeing ourselves as one. And that we had to use different tactics to achieve the same goal. If I were to go from here to southern New Jersey and got on 95 South to go, you ride one lane, I ride another lane, as long as we get to where we're going, why are we on the highway arguing about what lane we're on? So academicians have a lane, and activists have a lane. and those in media have a lane, and lawyers have a lane. If everyone does what they do, it pushes all of us forward. The problem is that when we have this crazy definition of what makes someone more relevant than the other, rather than understanding we've never been a one-dimensional people. And you don't have to be that now. I look at the honorees today, and they are well selected and well deserving of being honored. And they have different lanes. And what they do well. Don't forget, in the 60s, we had Malcolm, we had Martin, we had Fannie Lou Hamer, we had Thurgood Marshall in the courts, we had Adam Clayton Powell in the Congress, all at one time. Wasn't just one or two people in the 60s, there was a multiplicity of leadership. So how do we get to the 21st century with all this technology and we can't have a one Negro talk at a time? Don't let people limit you, and don't let people marginalize what discipline you may have. Do what you do best and that what fits you. And then others do that, and it will all be complementary. You that grew up in church know we have a choir. We had an inspirational group sing today. Everybody in the choir doesn't sing the same notes. Some are soprano, some are alto, some are tenor, some are bass. Some can't sing at all, just move their lips. But all of that makes a choir. So my message to you today is find out what you do and what you can do well. And don't try to do what somebody else does or what somebody else tells you is the thing of the hour. Do you. Because can't anyone beat you doing you if you do you to the ultimate. God said to me, I spoke last week to Dr. Shabazz at Trinity University. A young man said to me, well, how do you deal with critics, Reverend Sharpton, that say all you do is like publicity? I said, I do. He said, I don't understand. I said, that's part of what I do. Activists' job is to put light in dark situations. Don't nobody call me to keep a secret. Eric Gardner's mother didn't call me that night and say the police choked my son to death, now just keep it between us. She called me to help blow it up. That's what I do. I'm the blow-up guy. But then you need lawyers to move toward the legal representation. And you need legislators that will legislate and change the laws to the no chokehold law. All of us have a role to play if we don't get in each other's way. I remember years ago, there was a killing in New York, and I called for a day of civil disobedience, and we went to jail, blocking up various thoroughfares, and I decided, it was the Sean Bell case, I decided me and his prospective wife was going to get arrested down by the Brooklyn Bridge. We got arrested, and they brought all of us in from around the city, put us in what they call the bullpen behind the judge's chambers, waiting to be arraigned, to be released. And there was about several hundred of us in this big bullpen, and we all talking and laughing. And I looked over and saw a lawyer over there, and I said, what are you doing in here? He said, well, you know, I was at the bridge and you spoke and inspired and fired me up, so I just laid down with everybody else. I said, well, who gonna get us out of here? So play your role. Martin Luther King gave us a nonviolent direct action strategy. In your face, make it known this Sunday be the 55th year since the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. And we go every year and march across that bridge. I'll be there on this Sunday. Malcolm X gave us pride, gave us a sense of we were global way before the phrase was coined, that we should relate to our African roots and that we should be willing to stand up no matter what. We needed Malcolm and Martin. We needed the direct action, but we needed the self-esteem to know who we were while we did the direct action. We needed the nonviolence, but we also needed the cutting edge. We did not need to choose between them. And you in the generation behind us, you are the beneficiaries of the lineage in your intellectual bloodstream of being the benefit of Malcolm and Martin. I fought for the last several decades with the present occupant in the White House. I fought Donald Trump on Central Park 5. I fought Donald Trump on housing discrimination. He turned Democrat once, come to our convention, the National Action Network, then goes back and forward. I know Donald Trump. Donald Trump's pride was that he was the son of a builder and a millionaire, and never understood how I, who had none of that, could fight him. But I realized that people suffered and died for me. I realized that people chose to shed their blood so I'd have an opportunity. So I was just as proud of my lineage as he was of his. And I thank God I was raised in a way that I never doubted that. In fact, I never knew I was underprivileged until I got to Brooklyn College. I was sociology class. Professor said, we're going to study the underprivileged. I said, all right with me. He said, we're going to study kids living in housing projects, single parent home, on welfare, and go to the store, buy the food with food stamps. I said, he talking about me. Because my mother never raised me as to what I wasn't. She raised me as to what she expected me to be. And I'd walk her every morning in Brownsville to the Saratoga and Livonia train station. And all the way there, she would tell me, life is not about where you start. Life is about where you going. And don't let nobody tell you where you could go. And don't let nobody cut off your dreams. Dream even if you are in the worst of conditions, dream. And you today should not only celebrate the life and legacy of Malcolm and Martin, you ought to emulate in your life the Malcolm and King in you. You ought to say, what is it in me that makes me become a great contributor to society? There's something in me that only I could do, and don't let anybody devalue you. And don't let no one tell you what you cannot be. There's no one in history that was expected to be there. They had to fight against doubters and adversity to be there. I remember when I ran for president in 2004. Obviously, I didn't make it. Purdy didn't help me out, but that's another story. And I remember we were debating one night, and Carol, we were in Detroit. And at the end of the debate, I came off stage, and a reporter from the Detroit Free Press said to me, Reverend Al, I said, yes. He said, you did pretty good. I said, thank you. He said, no, I think you won the debate. I said, well, thank you. He said, you have to feel proud to be up there debating governors and senators. You should be proud of yourself. And I looked at him, I said, they ought to be proud to be up there with me. And he looked a little confused. He said, well, why would you say that? I said, because they all come from money and power and 3 and 4 generations of legal scholars. I didn't come from any of that. I hadn't heard from my father in 23 years. My mother was on welfare. I said, they were born on third base and had to hit a triple to get on that stage. I wasn't even born in the stadium. I had to come down through the parking lot, down through the bleachers, then get on the field and hit a triple. But we all on the same stage now. And if they had to come through it, I came through, they may not have made that stage. So I must be stronger than them and at least as smart as them, because I got to the same place and had none of the advantages. Don't look down on where you are. Prove that you are better than those that look down on you. I close on that same note because I want you to leave here with the little Martin and King growing in you. I was walking through LaGuardia Airport, Carol, just about a year and a half ago. A lady stopped me. She looked about my age, white female. And she said, Reverend Al, I said, I'm running to the plane. I had already talked to some people. They don't do autographs no more, it's selfies now. And if I'm late for a plane, I always have somebody that want to do a selfie that don't know how to work their phone. But she said, no, I don't want a selfie. She said, I want to ask you a question. I said, yes. She said, do you remember a teacher in your junior high school named Miss, and she gave me her last name. And I stopped, I said, sure, I remember her. She said, you do? I said, yes, she was my homeroom teacher. She said, well, that's my mother. I said, that's your mother? She said, yeah. I didn't tell her why I remembered her mother. Her mother, I remember when I was in the 7th grade, asked all of the students in home class one day what we wanted to be. And as they went around the room, everybody said what they wanted to be. And she got to me, I said, well, you know, I'm a boy preacher in the Pentecostal church, and I want to be a community leader like Adam Clayton Powell. She said, oh, Al, you know, why don't you study a lot in shop? Do something with your hands. And I never got that. And as I got older, I was always determined I was going to show her that I could be what she didn't think I could be. And I didn't tell that to her daughter. I looked back at her, I said, well, is she still alive? She said, yes, she's in her 80s, will be 90 soon. She said, but you know, I have to tell you, she says the highlight of her week is that every Saturday and Sunday evening we can't call her because she's sitting in front of the television watching your television show. The woman that told me to don't worry about speaking and leading ended up having to watch me on TV. Make your doubters become your fans. Make your disbelievers become the ones that extol you. Stand up and be who you were born to be. You were not born to be nothing. You were born to be something. Greatness is in you. Celebrate Malcolm and Martin by being what everybody else doubts, but what you know in your heart you were born to be. Thank you, and God bless you.
The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Let's give him another round of applause. Dr. Sharpton, we are on the same stage now, and you and I together can rule the world. We are now going to have a selection by the East Coast Inspirational Singers.
One day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It'll be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we'll be sure. We'll be sure. Glory.
Glory.
Oh,
Glory.
hands to the heaven, no man, no weapon formed against us, glory that is destined. Every day women and men become legends. Sins going against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom's like a religion to us. Justice positioning us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit visiting us. Truant living is living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on a bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it goes down, we woman man up. They say stay down and we stand up. Shots, we on the ground, the camera is panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It'll be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we'll be sure. We'll be sure. Glory.
Glory. Glory.
Whoa.
Glory.
Now the war is not over. Victory is won. We'll fight on to the finish. When it's all said and done, we'll cry glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. We'll cry glory. Oh, glory.
Glory.
Selma's now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch. We gon' run with it now. Never looking back. We done gone hundreds of miles from dark roads, heroes to become a hero. Face the League of Justice where power was the people. Enemy is lethal. A king became regal. He saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle. The biggest weapon? We will stay peaceful. We sing our music in the cuts we bleed through. Somewhere in our dream we had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs and songs through history. No one can win this war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders and an energy. Welcome to the story where we call victory. The coming of the Lord. My eyes have seen the glory. One day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It'll be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we'll be sure. We'll be sure. Glory.
Glory. Glory.
Whoa. Glory.
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 the East Coast Inspirational Singers, everyone. Let's give them another big round of applause. Oh, they are fantastic. Back with us for the 3rd year in a row. So the next person I want to introduce is actually a little awkward for me to introduce this person, because this is the person who's going to introduce me as the honoree. So, Dr. Roger Witherspoon, former Vice President of Student Development at John Jay College.
One of the things that you do if someone asks you to give a speech is first of all ask who's speaking first, second of all who's speaking next, and where am I to speak? Because if I knew that all these great speakers were going to be speaking before me, I would have said no. We have known Purdy for 30 years. 30 years of her wonderful achievements, great behavior. And I may repeat myself a little later on. I knew she was a star at my retirement party, and she came down the runway in a miniskirt with a drum, beating it, saying, "Stop the demonstrations." If you want to know just the facts about Yvonne Purdy, then look at the program, because it has a great illustration of what she's done over these years. I've known Miss Purdy, as she is widely known, for 30 years. So let me tell you about the things people may not know or have forgotten about her. Madam President, you're absolutely right. I never knew her name, and she worked for me. We all call her Miss Purdy. You got to pronounce that Purdy, and she'll respond to that every time. She was born in Clayton, North Carolina. Now, we could really have a conversation. Because Clayton is one of the big cities in the coast of North Carolina. They have 2 service stations and 1 red light. So Miss Purdy early on decided she wanted to get away from that service station, and she didn't want to be there for that stoplight, and she was going to come to New York. And you should get her sometimes when she's really into it, and she can say New York. And you say, "Well, Miss Purdy, where are you from?" "North Carolina." She worked as a study student for my staff. I can't. Miss would forget me and kill me. Miss Pat, yeah. Miss Pat Signius. Miss Pat Signius had a way of working with students. They would come into the office raising hell, mad, want to tear the place down. And by the time she finished with them and they came into my office, they had forgotten what they come in for. She worked as a tutor for the aid to disability students. And she worked for personnel many more years. I can tell you, as a former vice president in John Jay College, the nature of many things I had to deal with were confidential, and she never broke that confidentiality and gave expert and helpful advice, always willing to share of herself and to help others. While working with the TRIO program, she would demonstrate to students what the attire for jobs if you were looking for a job, would be she would put on that particular kind of outfit that you shouldn't wear, and then turn around and put on the outfit that you should wear. She would take that much interest in doing her work and the TRIO programs. She worked on sexual harassment issues by conducting the interviews, which is a very difficult thing. If any of you as a professional person has ever had the responsibility of working out a sexual harassment complaint, you have a lot of work in front of you. She teaches in the public management department, where she works daily. Professor Benton secretly told me that he was proud to have her. There's something else that we all know and we're getting a chance to see here. Miss Purdy really missed her calling. She really did. She should have been a performer and certainly a comic. But she chose to stay here at John Jay with us. At the funeral of that time Dean George Best, with her gift that she was allowed to share her experiences about the same time she was telling stories that you probably wouldn't tell at a funeral, but Miss Purdy had the skill and the courage to tell a joke at his funeral. Did it with taste, lots of taste. I was there. She also painstakingly caring. So for the Dean Smith, Hank Schmidt, who passed away just recently, she researched his desire to listen to music and got all the CDs together and wove them into a presentation at Dean Smith's retirement party. A lot of skill in order to do that. I'm going to close quickly by saying a few other kinds of words. She's a true professional person. There is no question about that. There's nothing negative to say about her. You never hear her walking around talking negatively about her colleagues and her friends. Always very positive. So I will say to Ms. Purdy, congratulations on your award. And the next time Rulisa asks me to do this, if I don't find out who's speaking before and after me, I won't do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Where'd you get all that information? But have a seat a minute, because we're going to take pictures when I finish. Don't go down yet. Stay up here. Sit over there. I don't know where he got all that information from. I am so humbled and pleased that I am being honored at the 30th anniversary of the Malcolm King Breakfast. However, a funny thing happened on the way to 30 years. In fact, many funny things happened on the way to 30 years. Mrs. Patricia Signius, who's always been my godmother, turned to Dr. Witherspoon one day and said, "Roger, Purdy needs to be on the committee." And he knew better than to say no. Next thing I knew, I was on this committee. The first job that I got on the committee was the keeper of the coat. Patricia, oh no, her name isn't Patricia, what is it? Felicia Rashad was the keynote speaker. She had a black and white, and when I say black and white, all my friends know why. A black and white mink sable coat. And Dr. Witherspoon said, "We need somebody to keep that coat." And Miss Signia said, "Purdy can do it." So they gave me the coat, and I was way back there in the corner, and I was wearing that coat, y'all. Woo, it was so nice. It was so lovely. And then there was the year when Cecily Tyson came to be our speaker, And she told us that she brought a friend. None of us saw the friend. We kept looking. We did not see this friend. Finally, she came up on stage, and we're still looking. Where's the friend? Where's the friend? All of a sudden, she goes into Miss Jane Pittman. That was the friend. And we were glad that she gave us this unique performance. Then there was the time that Danny Glover flew all the way here from his movie shoot. You know, we don't have much money to give. Most people come free, and he came free. But he said, I want one thing. I want somebody to drive me to the Rib Shack in Harlem so I can eat some ribs on the way to the airport. Dr. Witherspoon did that. Not me. And then there was the year when the keynote speaker was a no-show. We were in the middle of the breakfast just going and just waiting because they told us that he was coming, and we were waiting and waiting. So finally, Dr. Jeanette Domingo got off the dais, went to the phone, called him up. The office said, no, he's not coming, didn't you know? No, we didn't know he wasn't coming. I'm not going to tell you his name, but I'll tell you one thing. Last name is Smith, and he was in prison now. He may be out by now. But yeah. Then there was that year that we became the Ironing Crew. We weren't called a committee. We were called the Ironing Crew because we decided to buy our own white tablecloths. Got them back. They were so wrinkled. Janet Domingo said, y'all bring your irons. So the morning before the breakfast, we were at these 30-something tables ironing white tablecloths. That's dedication. Yeah, I told you some funny things happened on the way to the breakfast. 30 years of the breakfast. And though it's been 30 years, I'm only 2. Just I'll let you know that. However, the committee, we didn't do this all by ourselves. We had some help to pull this breakfast together. I recently heard that during the civil rights movement, someone said, don't tell me what you believe, show me what you do, then I'll know what you believe. So this is the moment that I want to thank the people who helped us get through the 30 years. First, my family, who's heard me talk about the breakfast. Unfortunately, y'all, they didn't know this side of me. They're just learning it today. So I know I'm going to hear about it when we get back to my apartment. All of you who have been supportive, who bought tickets, who just rooted us on for 30 years. Some of you who recently said, this is my first time coming to the breakfast and I've been here 30 years. Some of you who have said, I have been to every breakfast all 30 years. Yes, give yourselves an applause. I want to thank Joaquin Vasquez and MBJ Catering because they have stood by us for 30 years. That was the year that the committee forgot to order the food. MBJ called us the night before and said, isn't the breakfast tomorrow? We said, yeah. Well, you didn't order any food. So they stayed up all night catering and getting everything for the breakfast. And then there was the year that we had 2 feet of snow the day of the breakfast. MBJ still cooked the food and fed the committee because CUNY did not cancel class until the morning of the breakfast. So the committee got to eat for the whole weekend. And then there was the year that MBJ was no longer on campus. They were not allowed to be our caterer. We had to get permission to bring them back to campus to cook for us because the caterer that John Jay had stunk. So I deeply want to thank MBJ Catering. I want to thank Inez Ligon. Inez, stand up so they can see you. Who, except for today, has made the grits for us for many, many years. I want to thank the laborers and carpenter Jonathan Romano, who has drugged that picture over there from point to point for 30 years. So much so that it was falling apart and Jonathan built a new stand. In fact, the stand was broken and he came in yesterday on his day off to fix the stand. I want to thank the late Gerald Lynch, former president of the college, who supported the breakfast so much that he would come and make sure that our venue was set and straight. And my understanding is that President Mason did that last night, and she's going to do that from now on. I want to thank the Department of Public Management. Stand up, Department of Public Management. These are my colleagues. That's where I work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank the Caring Committee, who has indulged my need to have all things Purdy approved. Thank you. And lastly, I want to thank the founders of the breakfast, all of whom I love and whose shoulders I will forever stand upon. Thank you for your wisdom and for 30 years ago creating this fantastic place to have the Malcolm King breakfast to honor these two great men. I heard someone say something recently, and I love it, and I'm going to end with this. I am deeply honored to be honored. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Now I got to get back to my job.
Thank you, nice job.
So when I found out that I was being honored, it so happens that I went to the meeting late that day. And with this committee, all 30 years, if you're late for a meeting or if you don't show up, you get a job. So I go late to the meeting and they tell me, oh, we've already made a decision about who is going to be honored. There's no conversation, there's no discussion. You're going to love the person. And by then I had an attitude. Who could that be? And they looked at me and said, it's you, Miss Purdy. So what could I say? And then I said, but does that mean I have to MC? And they said, yeah, you got to work for it. You got to work for it. Next, we are going to present, Dr. Jessica Gordon-Nimhard is going to present the students with their awards. Dr. Nimhard. Like, where are you?
Hi again. Obviously, you know why we said she still had to MC, even though it's her event, her night, her morning. So it's my great pleasure to now finally introduce you to our student awardees, the Malcolm King Leadership Award. As I said at the beginning, it recognizes the contributions of both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and the role of social activism in our world. And these students have exemplified social activism and a commitment to changing the world through essays that they submitted to us. I need to thank the Essay Award Committee. That would be Dr. C. Jama Adams, who's on sabbatical this semester, and also Dr. Henry Smart. Thank you to the committee. The first person, and also we told the students they had 60 seconds to come up here and tell you a little bit about why they're proud to receive this award. You have their bios in the program, so I'm not going to read those. I'm just going to let the students speak for themselves. So I want to bring up Hadaj Ba first. I'm sorry.
Speak first?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, so I'm Hadja, and Malcolm X, oh my God, I'm nervous, sorry. Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. just inspired me to never stay rooted and to always push forward on a self-carved path. I just want to thank everyone who has helped me get to where I am today. Like my mother, who's here to support me, my father, my student council family in the back, I see and all of my friends and mentors and UMI. There's so many programs that make John Jay what it is, and I'm so grateful that I got the chance to be here today. So thank everyone here. Thank you.
Let's go away from that. And next is Ashika Long.
Hi. Okay, thank you. Sometimes we don't know if what we are doing is significant. Receiving an honor in the heart steps of our great heroes solidifies my path. As an African American woman, the struggles of my ancestors are as prevalent today as the faith they had to have fighting for our foreseen futures. There is an African phrase, Ubuntu, meaning, I am because we are. There are live heroes on this campus, the kind of heroes with the same belief every time they see us. There is a universal camaraderie here, an understanding of what inspires us as students and as human beings, a relativeness in which keeps us anchored to the mission. Thank you to the African American Studies Department for such an acknowledgement, and thank you to John Jay and the transfer students for opening the door and inviting me to continue the journey towards equality.
I can be seen. There we go. One of my McNair scholars, Adelina Marin.
Hi. As a Dominican girl from Dykeman, I come from a place where things aren't favorable and expectations are low. However, my goal to attain an MD, PhD, or dual degree to enable me to become an excellent doctor, researcher, and give back to my community. I would like to thank Malcolm King Leadership Award Breakfast Committee. I would specifically like to thank Athletics Department, McNair, and Urban Middle Initiative. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I would be here. So thank you.
You did a great job. Yeah. I did 30 seconds instead of 60. I must have scared you all. I'm just saying I must have scared them all because those are all 30-second, not 60-second speeches. But anyway, we have their bios in the program also. Alexandra Shonin.
Hi, thank you again for, thank you to the Africana Studies Department and the committee for selecting me for this award. And thank you to all my professors, mentors, friends who have been along with me in this journey. Someone close to me said, in every decision you make sure that you're doing it out of love and not fear. I know love existed as a motivating force for all the activists before me to continue in their fight, and it also exists in the work that I want to do today. Thank you.
And Bianca Hales.
Okay, I'm a little nervous. I would like to first and foremost thank the Malcolm King Leadership Award Committee for selecting me and my wonderful co-recipient to be honored here today. Being on this stage comes full circle for me, as I remember about 3 years ago, sitting in the audience of this breakfast as a freshman in awe of the Black pride and excellence that radiated through this room. Now receiving this award has me speechless, for it acts as an affirmation of my worth and power as a Black woman and leader in society and in my community at large. Though without the relentless support from John Jay faculty, staff, professors, students, and friends and family, I would not be standing here so proud before you. So thank you everyone for your unwavering and unconditional love. Thank you.
Go ahead.
One more hand for all those fabulous students.
Okay, everybody, we are just about finished. Just about. I'm going to hold you another minute or two. Next is the best part of the whole show. Well, second best part of the whole thing. Best part was me. Second best part is the raffle ticket. Get your raffle tickets out. Yes. Okay. So President Mason is serving as my Vanna White. So she is showing this beautiful piece of artwork that was donated by Dr. Jama Adams from the Africana Studies Department. Let me shake up the bag. Vanna, reach in and get something. Okay. You ready? Wait a minute. 430121. 430121. Nobody? Okay, pick again. Okay, excuse me. Yes.
Wait. Did you have the old one?
Somebody had it? No?
It was 430121.
She was close. 595602. 595602. We have a winner. Hazel Golden from the business office. Yay! Yeah, let me see. Yeah, she's the winner, Hazel Golden. All right, Banner, you got it. Banner, you're not finished? No, we're not giving that away. That's mine. We got some tickets to the Yankees game. All right, we have one more. This is, I got to get this straight because one year I got it wrong.
Oh, yeah, right. And we had to go buy the tickets.
Yes, we did. We have 2 tickets to one Yankees game, right? One game, because one year I said we had season tickets. Woohoo! Ready? Now again, it's 2 tickets for one game. Okay? 430090. 430090. 430090. Okay, pick another one. That might come okay. 595479. 59. Ooh, hey! Come on up, we have a winner. Come on up, we have a winner. Okay, so in typical fashion, we don't have the ticket, the actual ticket. The student must see Miss Danielle Officer in the Student Activities Office, or Cecil, and she will make the arrangements for you to get your ticket. Raise your hand, Miss Officer, so she'll see you. She will make the arrangements for you to get your actual ticket, okay? All right, thank you. Oh, you want a picture? Oh, she want a picture.
She can't get the tickets. You might as well get something.
All right. What's your name? Oh, what is your name? Giselle Sanchez is the winner of the... Giselle, remember, it's only 2 tickets. I got in deep trouble that year for one game because I'm telling you, we had to buy season tickets and they're not cheap. Thank you all again. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making our 30th anniversary wonderful. Thank everybody for supporting us all these years. Thank you for those who traveled so far to see us here today. We are now going to have a song by East Coast Inspirational, and this is the end of our program. Thank you, thank you, thank you.